like you never know where to look. So I put your picture right underneath the camera, so hopefully that'll work.
Yeah. Well, I can see you and you can see me, and
Yeah.
we live right now, so
Oh,
you
okay,
know,
cool.
um, yeah. Hey, what's going on? This is KLA Cloud the Wanderer. About to give it to you once again. Yeah, I have a special guest, another comic book writer, artist. Tom, forgive me your name, Fen Nogolio.
I will help you out because everybody gets that wrong. It's a Fenolio. So the G is silent. I'm getting a little feedback.
I'm giving an echo. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
It's a
sorry about that.
The G
Hold
is
on.
silent. I'm getting a little feedback.
I'm giving an echo. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm giving an echo. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's gonna be. You hear me now? Am I good?
I can't. Now I can see you,
Oh wow.
but I think I'm still getting the echo.
But, yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Fucked up right now.
Sounds like the intro music to their show.
I don't know right now. Yeah.
Sounds like the intro music to their show.
This is
Yeah, there's about a pretty good 6-second
maybe
delay.
Oh.
Yeah, there's about a pretty good 6-second delay.
Oh.
Yeah, there's about a pretty good 6-second delay.
Yeah, can you am I good now?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, can you am I good now?
Hold on.
Oh, this is another.
Yeah, I don't think that's on my side. Hold on.
It's another.
Yeah, I don't think that's on my side. Hold on.
What about now? This is crazy. Oh.
I guess I could always, we could end it and then reestablish it. I guess I could always, we could end it and then reestablish it. I guess I could always, that's awesome. I hate technology when it doesn't work. That's awesome. I hate technology when it doesn't work. That's awesome. I hate technology when it doesn't work. I wonder if I should.
I'm sorry, man. Oh.
Well, it's okay. How many audio devices do you have? It's a repeating, so you've got a harmonica in there that just keeps repeating. How many audio devices do you have? It's a repeating, so you've got a harmonica in there that just keeps repeating.
Is it still bad?
I wonder if I should just. You want me to sign off and sign back in? I wonder if I should just. You want me to sign off and sign back in?
What the fuck is going on? You still hear me? Is it okay now?
Hello. There's a delay.
Hey, babe.
I
Is it okay now?
No, see, I'm getting delayed. Let me disconnect and I'll come back in.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what's going on. This thing is yeah. I usually don't have like technical problems like that. Going crazy. Yeah, yep, yep. See how y'all doing? Um, yeah, this a new art. This I seen that his artwork and on Instagram. Yep, just chilling. Show you some artwork. Damn, I hope he ain't leave. Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know
yeah.
what? I never use Opera. So I got off of Opera, went into Chrome, and maybe that fixed it. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. But at least we good.
Yeah,
Because I
geez.
was going crazy, man. I
How,
was like, oh man,
how's that for an intro, huh?
yeah, that's a hell of an intro. Yeah, yeah, I stumbled across you on Instagram, and well, your company, Fenom Comics, and I was curious, like, what's it about?
Well, hey, and thank you very much because Instagram, you don't really know who it reaches, right? It's that literal
Right.
vast galaxy of the unknown. But uh, it's basically me and my brother Joe. So our last name's Fenolio. So the G is silent, and then a lot of people say Phenom, but it's Phenom. We're trying to be like phenomenal Phenom, but it's a playoff of our last name. So Phenom Comics
Oh,
started a while ago, but formally about 4 years ago. And what my brother and I have always done, I guess, growing up, we had all these stories and ideas, and we were more screenwriters. So everything that we did was more or less, always meant to be put to film. And so, um, just we've always been fans of comics. And then just overnight, one day, we thought about tying them together because we could really control the storyboard. So we said instead of making these storyboards and these different avenues of displaying our screenplays, why not just put them out there as volumes? And then as young kids, we always hated monthlies. I hate waiting every month for the next issue. So what we wanted to
yeah,
do with Fenom Comics was to come up with stories that were one big volume at a time. So 12 issues, 12 covers, 12 issues, one big story arc at one time, and then push that out to the reader. So our first story was Hunter Ninja Bear, first volume, 360 pages, 12 issues, 12 covers. Chuck Dixon, everyone knows Chuck Dixon from Bane and Batman. He's one of the best writers out there. We brought in Mel Ruby, Game of Thrones, Rob Hunter, DC, about 20 some years, Ivan Nunes, who just got done doing, I think, Spawn for Marvel. So we, really, Joe and I said, we can't do comics, but we can give our story to the pros. And so that's cool. You notice that because even with star writers, we did the same thing. We brought Tony Bedard. You got, he's been in the industry for decades. You got Scott McDaniel of Nightwing fame and Batman or Robin too. And then you've got our colors. We got Lee Duhigg that's done Marvel. You've got Alex Sinclair of DC. Everyone knows him. And then you got Gabe Eltia of DC. So we're just bringing on all our buddies in from DC and Marvel and saying, you guys take our stories and make it the best you can. And so far, it's been a pretty good formula. So,
wow. I think so. Did you know them before? Like, how did you get
no,
connected with these guys?
yeah, that is one of the most frequently asked questions. Is like, how did you end up like here, Alex Sinclair? You got Chuck Dixon. We got Bart Sears from another book, Ace Continuado. We've got a lot of uh, names that people recognize. And it was really Joe and I, we kind of went back to the stories or the people that we enjoyed reading or looking at younger. And because we sort of wanted that old classics. Some of the comics, they seem very rushed, right? They just don't have, it just doesn't seem the storylines. The art is what we were used to growing up. So we want to bring back some of the guys that really did it the way that we enjoyed it. But we went to trade shows. We reached out there on like artstation.com. What's the other one? I'm drawing a blank. Deviant Art. So we just spread out the internet saying, hey, we're not asking for freebies. We're definitely at DC Marvel rates. We were going to make a financial commitment to this. And it was very important to us. This is not a hobby. This is, definitely something that we are trying to push off now to film. And, Rob Hunter is probably the catalyst for that. Rob Hunter is very well respected in the industry as an inker and just as a tradesman. He just knows everybody, and he's an honest guy. Really, everybody knows him as a straight shooter. So once Joe and I flew in from Chicago down to Tampa, we met with Rob and we clicked. And then at that point he said, hey, Chuck, would you mind checking this out? Then Chuck Dixon fell in love with Hunter Ninja Bear. And then we brought in Tony Bedard. Tony Bedard loves Star Riders. We brought in all these people that ended up loving the story, but it was really Rob Hunter that was the catalyst. We met one person and then it snowballed. Alex Sinclair, I sort of met at conventions. I knew him just from, I love comic art. And so I've got a lot of his pieces. I think he's a phenomenal artist, but it just sort of steamrolled from one person to the next.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Like when I seen this, I was like, wow, what's this about? Like, I got a little clip. You check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, like no problem. Like I got the Star Rider too. Like what's Bear Ninja? What's this about?
Well, and it's so funny because we grew up really loving the old Westerns. We loved the old Japanese classics, and we love Godzilla. Okay, we love monster movies. So we saw some young kids playing Hunter, Ninja, Bear, just like rock, paper, scissors. So the hunter will beat the bear will beat the ninja, and the ninja will beat the hunter. So we thought, what a great premise was that you've got these rules, but then you've got a Japanese classic, you got a Western classic, and then you've got this bear of all bears. But Chuck and I and Joe are right now finalized, or actually Chuck's writing volume 2 and volume 3. It's a 3-volume set, and he's writing our story of volume 2 right now. But volume 2 gets bloodier. It becomes where it's like John Wick meets Kill Bill meets Godzilla. So every volume just gets a little bit more darker, a little more sinister, a little more violent. But we just wanted a good origin story because we didn't even get Star Wars. Growing up, we're old. We didn't even get Star Wars origin story, right? We always ended up in like episode 4, or Batman.
Right.
We always we somehow started in the old TV shows. We never got that true origin. So it was very important for us to get the beginning of it all. But it's a great little story. We're actually talking with some studios. So we're hoping that this is just the beginning where we can take these stories and really get them into a streaming service or get them out on the big screen. But Hunter Ninja Bear is really built around like a Netflix, like a condensed short story.
Yeah. How long did it take you to do this? Like,
you know what? Every team and for every artist out there, it's very interesting. Is when we worked with Chuck Dixon, you got Mel Ruby doing colors, we got Rob doing inks, we got Ivan Nunes doing colors, and then we've got Taylor Esposito, a phenomenal letter. These pages were knocking out, because the story, it was just boom, boom, boom. We thought comics were easy, and they were just a machine. Now with Star Writers, because we wanted to keep the same artist throughout the whole story, right? Because I hate when you're reading Spider-Man and then all of a sudden next issue, everyone looks different because they changed the artist. My brain just isn't that forgiving. So I like to have the same artist. So with Hunter Ninja Bear, we kept everything the same, but with Star Writers, it's more of a Wizard of Oz thing where it changes. So we changed the colorist and some artist on the 2 different sides of the story. So with working with so many artists and colorists, it's not their fault. It just becomes a scheduling nightmare because they're DC, they're working with Marvel. Fenom Comics is nobody, right? So we get pushed down to the lowest of the low to the totem pole, to be quite honest. So we're working around their schedules, but when you're dealing with all these people, they're sneaking us in, but things fall through the cracks. So we are right now desperately trying to get Star Writers out. But Hunter Ninja Bear was done 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and then Star Writers. And then our 3rd book is Something Fierce, and it's more of a demonic, I don't know how to put it. It's just kind of a dark fantasy demonic story, but that's the reason why Joe and I got into stories, is because this is Something Fierce is our reason for being here. So with Hunter Ninja Bear, that was for 3 or 4 years ago. Star Writers 3 or 4 years ago, but Something Fierce we've been working on for about 8 years. And so after that, we've got another story that we're working. That's Icor. It's kind of more of a tarot android story. But we've got a whole list of stories we're just trying to knock out. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Finish one story, then get to the next.
Yeah. Well, I could show some pictures real quick.
Star Writer. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's Hunter Ninja Bear. The Star Writer is a cool little premise, is because what we wanted to do was tell a story of, everything in society right now is just what's on the outside of people, what's on the, what shirt you wear, everything's fashion, everything's so driven by the outside. We wanted to tell a story of what if all that was stripped away, right? What if everything that people hold important or identify themselves as, what if that's taken away? And that's what Star Writers is. It's really an epic story, but it's a neat story because I personally don't think there's been a story like this ever. So so we're very excited. And you got the sexy girl, so we definitely have the sexy girls, we definitely have the action heroes. It's really a great story. So hopefully it's going to be out in about I'll say a month or 2.
Yeah, you said like before that you and your brother were screenwriters, like you were professional screenwriters?
Back in the day, I'm old now. This is another good little story, is that this game isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. So Joe and I always wrote stories. So when I was 25, 27, we had a really good little story, but it was just a good story. So, I packed my bags. My wife knew a friend that lived out there in Studio City, so I went and lived with her for a little bit. And I had meetings with Warner Brothers and some other, I can't really tell you the specifics, but I was young and dumb. Nothing was protected. enough, I had no representation. I had no entertainment lawyer behind me. I had nothing. So when I went out there, I talked to a lot of people, and 2 or 3 years later, my wife and I are watching aspects of the story on the film, and we had nothing to do with it. And so it was a great learning experience, to be honest, is that, I've got no animosity. It actually just taught Joe and I that we could never go out and make a film without being protected and being a little wiser. So, with age comes wisdom. It doesn't come easy. And right now we think we're in a good spot that we can kind of just protect our work, because every young artist just thinks that their stories, and it could be the greatest, don't get me wrong, but everybody just wants to get it out there. They think there's a clock, they just want to get it out there. And by us being hasty, it ended up costing us a lot. So that's why about 20 years, Joe and I are both engineers by trade, and we just, did the 9 to 5 job. We worked, we saved money, and this was always a goal for us, was to save and get to this point where we could bring in the right talent and then protect ourselves legally.
Wow, that's cool. That's,
Yeah.
I always wanted to write like a story, like a screenplay, but I don't know. It seemed like it's a lot, like to just kind of like the synopsis, and then like
I know.
certain keys you have to put. I remember I met this lady in the library, and she was working on a story. She was a writer, and she was writing like a trilogy, but it was like a romantic story type of thing. And she was telling me like certain things she had to always kind of check, like corrections she had to make, because I think she was sending it to somebody, and they was like proofreading it or something like that. But
There,
it seemed
yeah,
like,
there's hoops.
yeah,
You need a synopsis, and then you need a 1 page, and then you need a 2 pager. Then you need this, and then you need that. You're right. It became so much. And at the end of the day, they got us jumping through so many hoops that we got our eyes off the prize, right? Is that
right,
Joe and I played sports our entire life, football, baseball, and basketball, but we knew the rules of the game. You grew up knowing how to play the game, and you knew the rules. Well, when you go into something like something new, I guess, you don't technically know the rules. So what we needed to do was, we were always writing the last decade or two. We were always writing, but we were learning the game. And we
right.
still don't know it, obviously, until you're in the midst, but we tried. But you're right. There's storyboards. And so that's why Joe and I said, forget it. Let's put it in a comic form. The book, the story's there, right? The story's there. The characters are there. The dialect's there. The time period's there. Everything's there. No one can then take a 1-word sentence from ours, and then put it into something else. So I think, I don't know why they do that. And I'm sure that there's a mystery. There's a reason for it, to kind of weed out, the stories that they don't want. But to us, we found it very, very, very just painful. It's just tiresome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me. Yeah, this was kind of like, this is about like an extraterrestrial invasion. I think you said it, but I didn't get everything. Like
Yeah, and that's the hardest part about stories that aren't out yet, because you don't want to ruin it, right?
right,
But there's a little bit of everything. So you got your hero's quest, and then you've got definitely aliens. But it's funny because we'd done the story, and then Scott McDaniel, the artist, is an engineer by trade too. So
right,
between us, we were all doing quantum physics and we were breaking down time travel and making sure everything made sense. I mean, a lot of our discussions really was never about the story. It was never about the art. It was about, does this make sense? Because we hate stories that at the end of the day, when you think about it, you say, wait, that couldn't make sense, right? So really
right.
with Star Writers, we put everything into the technology, into the timelines, and just into the practicality, because we are alien people. Like, I do believe that there is alien people. I do believe in crop circles. I do believe in, Project Looking Glass. That's why the stories name that. So we just put all these little conspiracy theories. We put all these little stories that are off the grid, and then we kind of wrapped them around our basic story. So it was fun, but there was a lot of research on the math side, just to make sure that it made sense. But it's got everything, I really do. And obviously I'm supposed to say that, but I would not, it's not worth lying to people. It's generally something that we really took our time to make a phenomenal story. No pun intended, Fenom. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it seems like probably gradually it could be a movie,
Yeah, and everybody, because we've actually brought in screenwriters, just because Joe and I run out of time, right? At some point, you just run out of time. So we brought some screenwriters to see if they could take. We had a script for Hunter Ninja Bear. They converted it to the comic, and now we needed to retool it back for film. And everybody had said that Star Riders and Hunter Ninja Bear is really built for that. I forget what they even call it, like the miniseries, the Netflix, because our chapters and the way that the characters bounce around, it's just not one person going through, John Wick's journey. We have, if you think about Hunter Ninja Bear, we've got these three entities kind of converging. So everybody thought it was very Games of Thrones-ish, very, just very, I guess, Netflix's, series-ish. So we're reaching out. So hopefully we can get a studio that we can kind of, I guess, believe in us. So, But I will say, out of all the copies, especially Hunter Ninja Bear, we have never received one bad review, never one. And we've done thousands and tens of thousands of these books. We literally have sold a lot of Hunter Ninja Bear, and we've never had one sort of okay book or one sort of okay review. Everyone's loved it. And that makes us feel good, because the origin story was sort of the slow roll. That was the one to get everybody hooked, because the second and third volume is where it really gets vicious. So, yeah.
Wow, that's good. How was it? How was it like in like comic conventions?
We just did our whole run last year where we did all the conventions, and everyone loved it. Everyone was coming up to us. We did. I've been to San Diego a lot. That's probably the only one that we haven't been. But we did. You got it from Washington D.C. down in Chicago. We did basically the whole East Coast. We've done the West Coast. We've done everywhere in between. So the conventions are great. This year we're not doing conventions just because we're just trying to get Star Riders out. We didn't want to do back-to-back Hunter Ninja Bear. So the first year of conventions, we did Hunter Ninja Bear, and we had a great following. We had cosplay, we had everything. A lot of people that really enjoyed the story. And then next year we'll do the whole run. We'll do New York again. We'll do San Diego, Chicago, C2E2 with Star Riders. So we're pretty excited about that. But we're taking a year off just because I got to get Star Riders done.
Yeah. Let me show Star Rider then.
Godspeed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, lift off and the clock has started. Yes, sir. Reading it loud and clear. Houston, we've had a problem. This is Houston. Say again, please. We've had a problem here. Are you seeing this, Houston? Roger. The air is coming in. Stay on course. Maintain your position. Maintain your position. For God's sake, this can't be real. Dad, do we have any options? Roger, maintain voice. Flight safe. That's one small step for man.
Thanks. Yeah, no,
How
but
do you?
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask you. How do you know? Like, what's the key to making like a good story, in your opinion?
Well, well, the one thing, those little videos that give a little summary of it, those are hard because we didn't even use some of the cool pages. Really, the half of the book isn't representative because we wanted to keep it a secret. But making a story, I think just growing up, I think growing up, Joe and I would always, I guess, our mom would kind of tell stories. I guess we're just always trying to get out of things, so we were pretty good liars, right? Trying to get out of trouble, you know. But we could always, I guess, just tell jokes and tell stories. That's sort of our family. So I think the trick is for us was to focus on one story. Is that you have all these stories and you think they're all great, and maybe none of them are great, but you got to pick the best ones. So for us, it was really sort of narrowing down which ones we wanted to do. And we've got a very good superhero story. We think it's a great superhero story, but I think superheroes are just, I think everyone's kind of getting tired of them, I guess. Not tired,
Yeah,
but we just had that whole run. So we didn't want to come out of the gates with a superhero story. But I don't know. I mean, hopefully people enjoy our stories. So I can't say what makes a good story until people tell us that we have a good story, right? We're telling our
right.
story. We hope that people enjoy it. But if people think, probably that's the ultimate compliment is for someone to think that your story is good. But I think every moment that we put something out, we're always paranoid. We're always trying to make the story better. So um, until that movie, until that thing's on a silver screen, I don't know if we have a good story, right? I'm not trying to be, I'm just trying to be honest. Like you do have that
No,
personal doubt, you do have that personal aspect that you're doubting yourself throughout the whole creation. But that's where the Comic Cons were nice is because you had all these people coming in and saying, man, we love it. We love it. That really helps the artist. That helps every aspect, even your show. When people come up and say, man, your show's awesome, right? That makes you feel good because there's just this nothingness out there. It's a one way ticket. What you're doing, it's a one-way presentation. You're giving everything you have, and it's not like a live TV show where you get that live studio audience. And that's like us too, is we're putting our heart and soul in these books, and we just hope that people enjoy them as much as we do. And so I don't know. I just hope that someone at one point considers our stories great stories. Does that make sense? You know.
Yeah, I kind of understand because there was times that like I would try to be creative and stuff, and sometimes I didn't really know how to be creative, like in a sense, because I've taken like alternative comic courses and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And I would try to like I remember I did like a story about a guy. He was locked up, like he did 30 years, and he kind of like came out, and then he was in a world where it was strange to him, and then he witnessed a murder and stuff. But it was for that class, and I didn't really know how to go far with it. So it was like I would say like maybe like after, I would try to come up with stories, like I would read books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would try to write and stuff, but it wouldn't I didn't really know how to make it go further. That's how do you know how to be like confident? What like what was the time when you was confident and like like you got a good story, like if it makes sense. I'm not
Yeah. You
saying
know
the
what?
same thing.
I think it's that, and I don't want to get, because I think everyone's wired different, right? I think everything's wired different.
Right.
But I think growing up, Joe and I always had our mom and dad saying, boy, this is the greatest thing on earth. Oh my God. You guys, look what you did today at art class. It was the most wonderful thing. So you start believing it. And so I think confidence has never been an issue. I think it's the practical, like I think we're realistic, right? We're gonna
Right.
go
Right.
full steam ahead, and tell you the truth, we're thrilled that we put the books out. This technically isn't. This was something that we were always going to do. We want to tell stories, So getting it out there was more important than having a million people read it, because really 90% of it is getting the book out there. And then that's what you're saying. I think it just takes that moment that you just say, let's do it. And that's Joe and I. It was just a perfect time for us. And we knew our weaknesses. We are not comic book writers. We're not artists. We can tell stories, we can write stories, but writing a script for a comic is very complicated. You got to put the panels, you got to know how the pacing, the tone, there's a rhythm to the stories. So bringing in Chuck Dixon, honestly, was a game changer. And I would say this to you or to everybody that wants to get started: get a hold of a comic book writer, because if they're open and they're willing to work with you, Chuck was just the nicest person on earth, because he got us behind his brain. What am I thinking? Why am I doing this? Why are we going one page, or two panels here and a one pager here, or, this, and Chuck was great. So I think solely through working with Chuck Dixon, Joe and I were able to learn the craft a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Because you're learning from him. So that's what I would say, is get a hold of either a great penciler that can maybe just take your story and run with it. And we've never had that. They've always worked off of scripts, like locked in scripts, or get a great writer. It's either one of those. Without that, unless you're ultimately talented, and not saying you, but I'm saying in general, the person, Joe and I weren't. We were great. Like, we really love our stories, but we were not the professional writer or artist. And that's what we knew that we needed. So,
Right. You never thought about going did it ever occur to you go like a class or anything like that, or but you didn't have time or
yeah,
anything?
you know what? It's not that fun to me. Like, I love writing from the script, the screenplay aspect. My brain works. I can just type. I sort of, everything I see is out of films. Everything Joe and I have always talked about are out of films. Everything he comes into, it's film oriented. So at some point you start getting old, you just get tired of learning new things, right? You just keep on,
Right.
you never get the goal. You're just doing these different things that never get you further, but it just gets you closer to what other people say you need, right? And we're at the point that we're just done listening to people and just saying, let's get this done. Let's just get this done. Enough with what you guys need, what you guys should do, what you do this. Let's map it out ourselves, and let's do it our way. And if we fail it our way. And that's it. So that's the way Joe and I did it. And we can easily go to our grave pretty happy that we rolled the bones, the way we wanted to.
Yeah, I'm gonna show some pictures.
Yeah. So here's something
Now,
fierce. Yeah.
now, what was this? The story you was talking about with the demonic stuff?
Yeah. So something fierce is going to be something. Actually, everything is, but they're all different genres. They're all different feels to it. But we've got a lot of great artists, a lot of great art, a beautiful story, and it's just a story that's dear to our heart. Is that we always planned on this to get right to film, but then this is what caused us to go into comics, because we actually met with some agents and some managers out west, and nobody understood our concept. Think of coming up with a religious story wasn't very cool, but it's not a religious story to us. It's a very evil story, but getting that across was very hard. And we said, enough's enough. Let's just put it down, because people were asking for storyboards. Well, if we're going to pay money for storyboards, why not create a comic, and then we can, have something whole. And that's what we, did. But Something Fierce is the reason why we got into comics, was to really protect the story. And it's such a strange story that it was hard to explain to people, even with the script, what was going on. And that's the beauty of this story. And that's the same thing with Star Raiders too, is that we were trying to explain Star Raiders, and no one, everybody's like, because everybody relates it to something that they've seen before. And Joe and I's mission in Fenom Comics is to come up with stories that haven't been done before. And it's not
Right.
that easy. So we're trying to think outside the box and Something Fierce is it's just a nice little love story in a weird way.
Yeah,
But not,
that's the thing. You
yeah, but not the way you would think it
know,
is.
cliche, and people, get tired of it. It starts. It's kind of dry, and
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's hard, but I guess for everyone that's got a story out there, just I'd say find a friend that's a comic writer, or go to Comic Cons, get on DeviantArt for an artist, go to ArtStation for an artist. People are looking for partners, right? And
right.
yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Now I have a friend, old classmate. He's a comic book artist. His name is Damian Scott, and he been doing it for like almost about 20 years now. Like,
Oh wow,
yeah,
jeez, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. He did like the Batgirl when she had the mask like a ninja, Cassandra Cain. I don't know if you read that like in the 2000s. But
No,
remember, yeah, when Barbara Gordon, she got crippled by the Joker,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
they needed a new Batgirl, and
Oh,
so
okay.
she was kind of like brought up by this assassin dude, and but she wasn't like talkative, but her abilities were like, what was her abilities? Like she had like this physical ability where she can kind of read your body language,
Oh
that
wow,
type
that's
of thing.
cool.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
see,
she
all
was
those old
like
schools were, yeah. There was some great stuff back then. You know what I mean? There was some
yeah,
very creative stuff back then. It just really, I was Batman, I was Star Wars, anything Star Wars, anything Batman, and probably Iron Man. But you just can't. It becomes a lot of money, right? Every time you go
right.
to a comic book store, you can buy everything on the shelf. So
Yeah, I was like in and out of comics though. Like animation was my thing a bit, but but with like the superhero stuff, sometimes it was like somebody died or some event happened, and it kind of changed things and stuff, and it was always different, but it was kind of the same, if it makes sense.
yeah,
Like like especially like in the Marvel universe, and they both really Marvel and DC, because back in the days, like you either like the Marvel or DC. Those were like the two standout
that's it. Right.
comic book publications. So sometimes I would kind of root for DC and then Marvel. You know, what was your like your favorite comic book movie?
Favorite movie? Boy, that's a good one. Um, oh boy, take Star Wars out of it, obviously, because that came after. Um, I'm probably going to get ridiculed because I didn't like it when it first came out, but I think that
Nice.
I think me and my sons actually watched this more than everything. Is probably the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't. I
I mean,
really enjoyed. I enjoy every Batman. There's not a Batman except for the Clooney one, obviously.
right,
When it started going weird, that was not my bag. But even the Val Kilmer, I like. So everything Batman, I like. That's a go-to for me. But
right,
that Tobey Maguire, it was the first time that Spider-Man actually flew around like Spider-Man, right? Everything
right.
else was always cheesy. It was always Captain America with underwear on. It was, they were never looking like the superheroes. So I remember watching those graphics for the first time thinking, oh my God, this is incredible. So I think there's a place, and that was the first movie that we brought our boys. They were younger then. And I think that's why, just the history behind it. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know what's my favorite comic book movie, since I brought it up. Like, hmm, like what's my favorite comic book movie?
Yes,
What the
it's kind of a tough question. I mean, Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy,
that is.
I never even watched it, or I never read the book.
Yeah, I liked the last one, the volume 3. It was cool. Like
Yeah,
it kind of showed like the origin of Rocket a bit.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
how
thought
he yeah,
the Gunn brothers
yeah,
are good. We had met what's his? I'm trying to think of his name, Peter Gunn, whatever, at one of the Comic Cons. But the Guns behind the story, I thought they did a great job.
right.
That was good, but it is hard because even the first Iron Man was fantastic. The first Iron
Yeah,
Man, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. It was yeah, I would say it was all right, but like 2 and 3,
oh
I
right,
didn't like it. It
I
wasn't
agree.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. But I'm saying is that first
it,
one, them pulling off
yeah,
Iron Man, look like Iron Man.
yeah,
It's yeah,
yeah. It
and
was
then
cool.
Batman,
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
yeah, because
Yeah,
even
I would agree.
the Michael Keaton Batman was still sort of cartoony, right? It was still comicky,
Right,
and I thought
right,
those Spider-Man, the Iron Man was the first like movie that happened to be about
right,
superheroes.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, Iron Man. That's a long time. Yeah, so here we go. Yep. And most of the art that's showcased, the colorist is Gabe Eltiad. And then right at this scene, they sort of I guess they go into a different part of the story. And then we bring in Lee Duhigg, that's done phenomenal work with Marvel, and then Alex Sinclair. So it's kind of a neat little book because it is Wizard of Oz goes from black and white to color. So
Wow.
yeah, so it definitely
Yes.
changes.
Very interesting. And this is your team?
Well, these are so that's me and Joe on the bookends, and those are just buddies that we've met, and we still keep in contact with them. Actually, a lot of these,
Oh, okay.
so they've been fans on Instagram, and every convention, a couple of them uh, will actually go to different conventions in the Midwest, so we'll meet them. So just we just met a lot of great people, a lot of great. Uh, the Comic Cons are something that uh, you can go and there's not one mean person there. They're dressed up
Right.
as warriors. There's guns, there's knives, there's axes, right? At an airport, you'd get thrown in jail, but somehow at a Comic Con, and everyone's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool. So we've met so many nice people, and that's probably the highlight of this whole experience for Joe and myself is that going to Comic Cons and meeting everybody because we've met people that you would never, like a 70-year-old grandmother that loves Hunter Ninja Bear, you're right. And then we've had
Yeah.
people that wanted to contribute. There's people that did Comcast. We had somebody that wanted to put a considerable amount of money behind us. So we've had a lot of
Mm.
people that wanted to give us their moral support, their financial support, their well wishes, and there's just a lot of genuine souls out there. So we've been very thankful from leaving our little Chicago and seeing every coast and every I guess town in between. It's been very special.
Wow. What made you like decide to just do it like 4 years ago? It's
Uh, it was time. It was really. It was. That's the million-dollar question. Is I think the reason why is because we had all these stories. Hunter Ninja Bear. We had Star Riders. We had a we got six, and we were never going to go forward without getting something fierce off the drawing board. And a studio had come up to us and said, and we did it all in audiobook. We have something fierce in with voices, with background scores. We have everything.
mm,
And a studio loved it. They said, all right, we're going to break it down to a storyboard. And we saw things that we didn't like, right? Then the controls started coming. And then
yeah.
I think that's what got us nervous. We said, how can we control this? And that's when we said, let's start putting this to paper our way. So it was really out of protection. Full, yeah,
Wow.
100% to protect our stories because we were,
Wow.
that we just didn't like what we were hearing.
Mm,
Yeah, to be blunt.
yes. Oh,
Yeah. So just little things that we did on. We're a little different
oh,
because Hunter Ninja Bear, all the books were printed, they were all ready to go, and we utilized Kickstarter and Indiegogo just for advertising. So
right.
yeah, so that was neat because I think the day after the campaign finished, we were sending out books. So
Okay.
it's a little different with Star Writers because our timing was a little off because we thought the last chapter would have been colored by now, and we're sort of just waiting. But we Kickstarter and Indiegogo has been fantastic because it's the ultimate showroom for your goods, you know. So it was great for us.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
like this cover.
yeah, and it's hard to do these little teasers because I hate going to the movie theater and you watch the trailer and they tell you the whole story in 2 minutes, right? Yeah,
Right.
and you see why they do it now. So we just try to give little teasers, good little, and right there is not even a full page. That's just a little panel in the book. We've got so much great art in the book that's not a cover. I mean, sometimes you would think that's a cover, right? And
Right.
that's all. And all that is just maybe a half of a page, a panel. So Hunter and Ninja Bear is really a beautiful book. Mel Ruby and even Ivan Nunes with the colors really did fantastic job. I mean, beautiful pages.
Yeah, I definitely gotta check this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we were out there west. Our two boys were out there for school, and we were at the convention. So that was the LA anime convention,
Mm.
and just tons of, just she actually was an awesome costume. She was right out of high school, and her parents were there. And the thing that she wanted to do was to go to different conventions,
Yeah.
and that's what and so she was thrilled. This was her
She
first.
look a little over.
No, 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 no. She's no. We met her. We actually went to the show, and then we were going to go grab a bite to eat, and we met her and her
Mm.
family at a restaurant. And I said, "Hey, I can't not take a picture." And I explained that we do it for Fenom Comics, and she was one of the best costumes that I personally have ever seen. And there was a line of people out, just waiting to take a picture with her. So I definitely was not alone.
Yeah. Do you work with like female artists like or other writers or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. For Hunter Ninja Bear, we did a contest, and just we said, here's do this page, and then we'll let you guys do covers for Star Writers. So we actually have, I think, two female artists that are part of those two covers that will be showcased in Star Writers. We even have an autistic artist that we met at a convention, a young man, and he's actually contributing a cover for Star Writers. But I guess we haven't. I'm trying to think if we have or not, because ICOR, we might be bringing in a colorist. But when we're doing this, it really, how can I say it? We're looking at styles. When people say, hey, check this artist out, it's never, hey, check this guy out, check this girl out. It's always, hey, check this art, right? You're always at the artist level. You're always at the art level. So when we saw Mel, I never met Mel, Mel Ruby, and we were going through all these artists, but you never get to know them until you really invite them into your project, and then you're off, to get. And now all the artists, everyone that we've ever worked with, we're all great friends for life. So we've never had a bad working relationship, and it's been fantastic. So no, we haven't, but I guess we have for the covers. But we were just new that we were never at the personal level. If that makes sense. Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, I asked because yeah, I've talked with a few writers and stuff. I remember I interviewed Erica Schwartz, and she did like she wrote the story of Spawn and
No.
the new Daredevil and the Wolverine's daughter, X-23, X-21. Yeah, but I could get it. Yeah, I don't hear like too many. They don't stand out all the time, so that's why I
Yeah,
asked.
no,
You know,
and it's just one of those things that we were lucky to get. You kind of get into, like we said, Rob Hunter, and he knew this collection starts steamrolling. But when we're looking at artists, we're purely looking at their portfolios, so
Right.
I don't know. It's just, we never get to
That's
that level.
understandable.
No, and
Listen,
because a lot of people have asked, a lot of people do ask, like, hey, how do you meet them? Are you looking for a female's perspective? That's a very valid question, or if you're doing this, are you looking for somebody with that background so they can pull from their life's experiences, right? But all of our stories have been such like, space. They've been historical. They've been satanic. We were never looking for life experiences because we believe our stories are so unique, right? So we were looking, and even today I was working with Ivan Nunes on the coloring of Something Fierce. And we were just going through tens of easily 50 different color combinations, different color palettes for 6 pages in the book. There's 6 pages in the book that are very, important. And we're just talking about color palettes, the tones, the reds, this, what are we trying to get across? So from our level, from our point, we're just thrilled when we have great artists and great writers. I don't care if they're from planet Zebra, or Mars, or you name it. We're lucky that we actually got some pros because they've been fantastic. But none of our stories need a specific writer, long story short. Plus,
how did you see?
because Joe and I really do the stories. When you get
Right.
down to it, these are all our stories. And then we're just looking for people that sort of can kind of make them into comic books.
Oh, okay. Would you recruit other writers
Well,
like
a
in the
lot of people
future?
have asked for submissions. And personally, I don't even watch any new movies anymore, because I don't want anything getting into my brain. So
Yeah.
we've helped every artist or every writer that submitted things, stories to us. I've said you're talking to 2 guys that have had things stolen from them, and I would never do that to another person in any form. So we always say we'd rather have that not in our subconscious, because if that comes out 3 years from now and we forgot that it came from your story, I would hate for that to happen. So we don't receive new information or new stories, and I don't even watch stories or movies or any films, because I'm trying to get that nugget in my brain that can get something new.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of reminds me. Matter of fact, it kind of reminds me of the comedians when they like listen to another comedian's joke, and then their subconscious mind
Yeah.
like kind of dwells on like it surface, and they say it.
Yeah. No,
That's what it kind of reminds me of that.
because even I think George Harrison did "My Sweet Lord" was "She's So Fine" from the Supremes, whatever that was,
Oh, okay.
and he never knew it, and and I think it happens to musicians probably more than anybody, is that you hear a little jingle and then it manifests in your brain. But we just do it because Joe and I are hell bent on coming up with something that no one's thought of. And so if we spend our time watching other people's creative stories, that's always like, then you're chasing, like you go to see John Wick. Oh my God, let's make a John Wick, right? We don't want to play that game. We'd rather do ours, and then hopefully it fits the sign of the times. It fits what people are looking for. But we're not trying to
Yeah,
chase what's hot.
yeah. Throughout like history, I noticed that like especially with DC and Marvel, like they would kind of like swap like the same like different like similar characters. They have a history of that,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. They were always ripping off everybody. And
Right.
uh, um, but back in the day, think about it. You know, they were doing it to each other, so they were probably, that there were only 2 big
Yeah.
players in town. That's like, Michael Jordan getting mad that Magic Johnson stole a move. Well, guess what? You stole a
Right.
move from him, right? Like
Right.
at the end of the day. But now with so many people that are trying to get up there with DC and Marvel, um, I think all of us independent creators are just paranoid that one day someone's going to come up with, star blasters, right? And even a gentleman on Instagram the other day said on Star Writers, which no one's even seen the story, right? He goes, "Oh, this is, I forget what night. I'm going to get this wrong, but he said this is a ripoff of Night Falcon or something. I don't know.
Night Falcon.
Just to let you know." And I looked it up. Silverhawks. That's what it was. And
Silverhawks.
yeah, but I never heard of it. And I saw it, and it's got nothing to do with Star Writers. Nothing. I pulled out some books, and but it's interesting because even if you don't do that, people see that, right? Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of Silverhawks in my life. So Joe and I definitely didn't pull it from there, but I think people will always take their catalog of knowledge, and I guarantee you've got a greater catalog of knowledge for comics than Joe and I combined times 20. So you're going to see stuff in Star Writers that we never have because it's this, we're just not, we don't have that knowledge, of comics. We just go into the book, go to the grocery store. Our mom would let us sit there and read a couple comic books. We just never really even had money to get a comic book. You know what I'm saying? Like we never had comic books growing up. We just weren't able to. So it just never became a hobby or a love of mine. So
wow, you never heard of Silverhawks? Like how old are you?
54.
Okay.
So according to the internet, it came out like in 78, right? Or something.
It was the animated cartoon. It came out in the 80s, like 80, 86, 87.
Yeah, see, all right. Transformers I was watching that, but you go back to like Spectrum Man, Ultraman, or the Barbarian, you know what I mean? I'm watching that. I never
tell you true.
Silverhawks.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It was like a company. It was called Telepictures.
No, because
Telepictures
came out. Remember Thundercats?
Yeah, it was the same company that created Thundercats, and so they wanted to make a bigger. They wanted to make another version of Thundercats, but like in space with birds and stuff like that. And it didn't come. It was a good cartoon, but it didn't stay. It didn't stay there long.
Yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying. So I never knew, So you get people saying,
I mean, there's people that do it all the time. Like, I had a young guy, and he was like creating a story, and it was about these people that got shocked by electricity, and they got superpowers and stuff like that. And so some things he remembered from Static Shock, and and there was this character. He was like all black and hoodie and stuff, and he all black with a hoodie, and he was African American. The character that he created, and I was like, hey, this kind of reminds me of Night Trasher from the '90s and stuff, and he wasn't really too sure about it. It's like, yeah, that matter of fact, it did. So I mean, it seemed like it's not a big deal because it's like that's what happens like in the comic book world. Like they'll like get like certain like copycats and stuff like that from other characters and stuff. Yeah, and because I was
that's funny.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. No, I said that's wild because we're trying to protect ourselves, and so we're not trying to take stuff. And but you've got it. But you've got this one. I mean, just think of what you just said. These characters, you've got such a pool of data, right? So you can you look at our comic book and you say, "My God, Satoru and Hunter Ninja Bear reminds me of this character." Well, that character has never been in our brain. So Joe and I probably think we come up with all the creative stories, but we're real film guys. Does that make sense? You put a film out there, and I'll tell you a film from here to Idaho, right? from 1930s, from from anything. We're film buffs, but comics. Everybody can rest assured that we never stole anything from a comic book. you know,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah, but,
uh,
yeah, but I mean, but um, yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the comic though. I would love to read it because I've seen it online, and it's not that much. It's like,
well,
you don't mind me saying the price, right? It's
no,
twenty
no, definitely.
six. It's $26 and something cents. So
Well,
I
I
was
think
like,
it's
you
well, I think
know,
Hunter Ninja, yeah, Star Raiders is 26, Hunter Ninja Bear is 29, but you're thinking that you're getting 12 issues. So if you think about 12
right.
issues, that's a lot. And even the printer, even our distributor, we're with Diamond, who handles like DC, not DC but Marvel. They told us to charge more, and we said we hate when
Mm.
people try to nickel and dime us. There's a lot of book. They don't know us. Let's make it affordable. But you please send me, just after this, send me your email or your mailing address, and I'll send you out Hunter Ninja Bear. And then when Star Riders comes in, I'll send it out to you.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you and letting me know about Fenom Comics.
Yeah, no, thank you. And once Star Riders comes out, and I mail, we'll definitely mail it out to you. And even with Hunter Ninja Bear, I would love to hear what you think of it, because
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because like I said, you've got a wide range of history, and I would love to kind of see what you think of it, because we're very proud of it. And if any of your listeners or ever have any questions, they can always go to Fenom Comics .com. So all of our books are there, and FenomComics.com, Phenom Comics. But no, thank
Well,
you.
one more question.
Sure.
How do like like 5 years from now, where do you see Phenom Comics?
Well, we were always, well, by that time, we should have volume 3 of Hunter Ninja Bear done. We should have Star Riders 3, probably volume 2 done. We've got 3 other books that haven't been out, so we got to get those out. But we're hoping to be on your Paramount Plus, on your Netflix, on your Apple TV. We're hoping that Hunter Ninja Bear first, just because that's the one that's done, and then we've got a lot of traction. We're hoping that people will, play Hunter Ninja Bear, and they'll get a kick out of it. But so hopefully 5 years, we'll be having a beer and we'll talk about when we first met.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No, rock and roll, man. This is very cool.
All right, folks, that's a wrap.